Thanks so much, F, for interviewing Jermaine there. Disappointing for Elevate there, obviously, but now it's on to the final set of the day. Joining me on the desk, first of all, though, is Vetium. Now, Nika has parted ways. Vetium on Team Saw. Congratulations on your victory yesterday.
Thank you.
And you've got a lot to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, tough games against United.
Now, first of all, today you've been watching Europe during the day today. Anything surprised you so far?
Not really. It's a little weird seeing how their meta differs from ours, just because of how different it is. Like, we pick entirely different gods and value entirely different things.
Sure.
But other than that, really no surprises.
Well, if you've just tuned in and you've not seen the day so far, just go to the bracket and show you how it has developed over the course of the weekend. And right now, Rival have just been elevated and they're off to take on Enix.
And this is certainly a matchup that's going to be kind of unpredictable. I mean, we've seen Rival and just how aggressive they like to play, but Enix is a team where I don't think that we really got to see all of them from this previous split.
Betty, I'm looking in from an outsider from North America, the across the pond sort of view of these teams. Do you know much about either of these two teams?
I really can't say I do. I haven't seen enough of them to really have an opinion here. I guess maybe that'll change after game one. I'll try to pay attention.
I'm pretty sure you've fought Funballer before, though, haven't you?
Yeah, last year when I was on Flashpoint, we had our just best of one against Orbit, which was Funball, Lawbster, and Xaliea, and I think all three of those are on Enix.
They are indeed, you are correct with that one. We can actually take a little look, first of all, at the team that just won. Team Rival is the one to focus on here. They did just defeat Elevate, moving them on to this matchup now. Look at him.
Wlfy's
I like
feeling
these
it.
poses. I prefer these poses to the arm cross thing, don't you,
Yeah.
Taco?
I absolutely love giving the players the opportunity to show a little bit of their personalities.
That's why, Vetium, what did you do for this?
Absolutely nothing, because my personality is boring.
What a person to have on the desk.
He doesn't put sauce on his spaghetti. I just want to throw that one out there.
What do you have as your spaghetti then? Just raw spaghetti?
Just
Or cooked
meatballs.
spaghetti?
I mean, I really don't like tomato sauce.
Okay, well, iceicebaby had a pretty good performance in that last set, and he's the one to focus on from Rival for going into this one as well. Susano over in Europe, Vetium, has been a real order of the day so far. Doesn't any value it the same way?
We value it a little bit. It's not a terrible jungler. I think it's pretty good. We don't value it nearly as high as some of these EU teams, but it's certainly up there.
Does Ice need to continue what he's been doing, Taco? Is there anything strategy he needs to be looking to employ against Enix today?
I'm more than positive that Enix is going to force iceicebaby out of his comfort zone. They're very familiar with what kind of playstyle he tends to lean towards, and taking away junglers such as Susano or like an Wlfy even, I wouldn't be surprised to see Cherryo opting for that, just to remove it from his arsenal.
Speaking of Cherryo, we can have a little look at him. He's the first member of Enix we're going to go to today. Cherryo, the jungler for this squad, joined them recently, and now he's starting to find favor there. He's quite happy to play Guardians in the jungle, though, Taku. He's not necessarily just the assassin-based jungler.
Cherryo is one of those guys where he comes out to LAN and he is just incredible no matter what he plays, whether it's the Guardian or the Assassin. This guy's going to show up.
Vetium, you've seen Cherryo a while now. Do you know anything about him? Have you seen this play before?
Yeah, I know for a fact that he has bad ping when he's playing online,
That's
so
true.
that would be a reason to go towards the Guardians, maybe easier abilities to hit. But even when it comes to LAN, he's still practiced on his assassins and everything, and he's able to do well no matter what.
Very, very true. When you do play on a higher ping, when you do get a lower ping overall, things that you wouldn't normally play or have success with, you can, because of the fact the ping is lower. One thing to know about Cherryo is that Naja that he always has come to at the LAN stages, because he believes he's one of the best setup gods potential for follow-ups from mids, but it's something that only really he pulls away because of the fact that he's used to higher ping.
Well, I'm more than positive that despite whatever Cherryo decides to opt for, whether it's the Naja kind of playstyle or even the Guardians, he's going to have Lawbster for his follow-up, if anything. And those are just two incredibly skilled players that I think can play very well off of each other.
It appears Cherryo had not got his sound available there right then, but we'll have a little further look towards Cherryo.
I'm Cherryo. I play for Enix. I've been playing since Season 2. I've been through multiple teams. I had good performances, bad performances, but I'm happy to be at Enix now. My goal obviously is to win Worlds, but if I manage to get to Worlds, that's an achievement for me. It's really stressful. Everyone has ideas about how the game should be played. Stressful, but I guess worth it at the end. I get a lot better as a player, and hopefully we achieve more than my other teams. Of course, there's teams that we don't prepare as hard, assuming they will lose. We've kind of talked about which teams we most likely will face. And we already have a lot of time to prepare because we played the last game. So if we have to adapt, we'll do it. But we're mostly preparing for Rival and Elevate, and then we'll prepare for Energy when we're taking it step by step. I have no time to have fun. I got uni all the time. I'm not doing so great right now, so I'm mostly just focusing on university. Then in my free time, I play ranked a bit. That's really it.
Schoolwork and smite is what Cherryo does best right now, and he's going to be leading from the jungle position for Enix here today. Bit of a switch up for those Enix boys as well. The whole squad really, Lawbster, Funballer, Xaliea, the trio that have stuck together since Trixtank and Cuvo left that old roster, and then they brought in Cherryo and BigManTingz as well. But it's a big change to have a jungler and a support player removed.
But this is seriously their time to shine. They want to make it to the Masters LAN and compete against their former teammates for a shot to prove who actually made the best decision when the split happened.
Now with this team as well then, I mean, for you, team as well, you've been on quite a few teams now. Jungler and supports are very, very important to how the game generally runs because they have an insurmountable role.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that the fact that Lawbster and Xaliea, they've been sticking together for years now. I really think that they've had enough time to build up that synergy, and I think that they will do really well this game.
Yeah, the main thing that they do have the benefit of is that the actual laners in Funballer in the duo lane, in the solo lane, they've got Xaliea. In mid, they've got Lawbster. The actual laners that are going to stay there the majority of the time are used to playing those roles and playing with that team.
Well, a really nice aspect about Enix, though, is bringing along BigManTingz is probably one of the best support players they could have possibly picked up for this roster, because BigMan, while not necessarily the person who's going to be initiating or looking for those super aggressive engagements, he is excellent at following the shot calls, and he will 100% back you up on whatever it is you're trying to make happen. And so with Lawbster's leadership, I'm sure that this team could definitely find some success today.
And BigManTingz as well. I mean, he's been around a little while now, played a little bit Fnatic in the end of the Fnatic era that we remember once upon a time, and didn't really get his shot call there because he was around a lot of celebrities that have been around the scene for a long time. But after having a little bit of here and there, he now finds himself on this Enix squad, and his god pull is relatively deep, not scared to go with the Amaterasu support sometimes as well that we have seen over in Europe. What do you think about Amaterasu support, Vetium?
I think that I think it's been played a lot in NA, and I really don't see any issues with it. I think it's a great pick. It's really new, mainly this season, because I'm not sure why it's come up actually, but it works really well in the support role, even though it doesn't really have a lot of those support qualities. But her ult is really, really impactful. Yeah,
impactful, game-changing ultimate there. But will we see him really go to that head tackle? Will he go for the Amaterasu, or would he be more looking to take away that Fafnir from Callus that we've seen is so deadly?
I wouldn't be surprised to just see Enix just ban the Fafnir. It's not something that BigMan necessarily has to play, but I know that it is a god that he can definitely play very, very well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to play it.
It's a very important match for both of these two. Whichever team wins this best of three here will move on to tomorrow and have to face the might of the world champions 2 times in a row, Energy, who still sit at 3rd seed even though their season wasn't the greatest. But this one's very important for both these teams right now. Anything special you expect here? Would you Vetium personally, like in this situation, bring out any pocket strategies, or are you still trying to hold on to them to face off against a harder opposition?
I'm not really sure to answer that. I think the teams, they obviously want to pull out as much as they can to win these games, but I don't know if they can really afford to hold back, because they don't really know if they can. They don't know if they can just win based off the minimal picks they have outside of their pocket strats. I think they should really just go all out and then just hope they can outmatch Energy tomorrow.
I'd imagine the first game would probably be the determining factor for that. More so for a team like Rival as opposed to Enix. I think that Enix feel very confidently in their own performance levels that they can I would imagine that they feel very confident in picking up the win here. So I'd expect that to come out of Rival more than anything, as Deathwalker and Iceicebaby have now slowed down time.
They have, just like you do with time as well.
But I opened up that second dimension that
and they
from the other, it's the other point in time that I just watched them.
But it's good to see them in high spirits for Rival as well. They're not really super focused, as in we've got to win this. Actually having, is attitude really important? Vetium going into these games, having a bit of a joke and just being more relaxed.
Yeah, for sure. I felt that was a big factor in us turning around our games yesterday against who was it? in memory of Gabe.
Wow, those shots fired. Like, who was it? It doesn't matter.
No, I swear.
Through, right?
I swear
That's
I
what you're
blanked
doing,
out.
right?
No, but it really is important. Like, we weren't down after game 1. We got really destroyed. We just got absolutely destroyed. And we didn't get tilted. Like, that was a big part of us turning around in game 2 and 3. We kept the jokes up, but stayed focused and just played it the best we could have.
Well, let's see if Rival can do the same thing now. Keep the motivation high, keep the happiness rolling into the set against Eanix. Rival will be first pick here, so they will also get the opportunity for the first ban. Once again, it's the Khepri.
And I think that Khepri is an excellent ban to take away from Eanix. It's certainly a guy that BigManTingz could take advantage of because the ultimate is just so hard to deal with in a LAN environment. That's why you always see Khepri come back as that sleeper LAN pick, and it's just because of how effective he can be.
Still surprised by the Circuit bans coming out from Rival here. We've still not seen a Circuit all weekend, I believe. Have we seen one? Might be wrong and might have actually seen one, but it's been banned 30% of the time so far this tournament. I don't remember seeing too many of them. But Enix have allowed Fafnir to go over to Callus.
It's either they don't feel threatened by the Fafnir or they just have a different kind of playstyle where they imagine they can shut it down entirely. They're probably more than aware that this is going to be a first pick kind of scenario for Rival. So for a team like Enix, I'd imagine they did their homework.
Problem is though, when I look at Enix's squad, I was about to say Kraken and Skadi were available. I'm pretty sure as a North American vet team, you would have been screaming for those 2 picks to come through, or even the Chang'e as well, which we see here.
Yeah, for sure. What really really surprises me, I think, is the Circuit ban. I'd say Rival has some picks that they want to get later on in the draft that would be really impacted like that. Maybe they feel it's a good counter to Skadi and they intend to pick that here. Hopefully they do, because it is a really, really good pick, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't like Skadi. That's generally the gist of it, and you can tell also just by the way that they look to build Skadi. So far, I've seen so many Fatalises coming out on that third item, which isn't the worst thing in the world, don't get me wrong, but Pen is typically the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that synergizes very well with how you want to play Skadi normally. Like, your whole kit is based around your abilities, and having Pen and extra power really just, it makes you excel at doing that, and the Fatalis just holds you back, really. You're not trying to have that, like, Rama sort of, like, I'm going to carry with autos potential. Like, you really just want to burst with your abilities, and that's your main source of damage.
Now, Enix drafting this Chang'e here is still very flexible, even though we do have a Terra, which is also flexible to the solo or the support role. But the Chang'e can go in the jungle, and Lawbster won't be scared to run that in the mid lane either.
Lawbster can certainly play Chang'e in that mid lane, should he desire to do so. I'd imagine that Cherryo could potentially be looking to expand his god pool a little bit from what people are expecting.
That's true. I was going to say...
It's because you expect him to go for the Guardians, and you know that he has some pocket picks for the Assassins, but you don't really see him trying to pull out this Chang'e DJ Pernicus playstyle.
Oh yeah! First one of those in a little while coming out here for Funballer, more than likely to take on that Rama. What's that matchup like, Vetium?
From as far as I know, Huyi wins that fairly... I'm very sure that Huyi will win that matchup. But if the Rama gets a bit of a lead, it can really go either way. I think Rama would be very good at pushing that lead if he gets it. But as I expect Huyi to be very controlling in this lane.
So in the boxing matchup, Huyi should win against the Rama, but Rama does have a bit more wave clear.
Ram might have the wave clear early on with the Fafnir, but I think that depends on whether or not we see this Terra going the way of Xaliea or BigManTingz. This is still a bit of a flex pick at this point in time.
Sure, and when you mention Xaliea, you know for a fact that it could potentially be Terra as well in that solo lane. Erlang Shen and Neath banned out, so Rival were a little bit worried there that Enix might go for a strategy that was seen out of some of these players before, where Lawbster would take a Neath to the mid lane and run that double hunter composition. Is double hunter still really viable right now, Vetium? What is it that double hunter is bringing?
Yeah, it makes sense why they banned Neath there, just because they're afraid of the Neath mid because Lawbster can play it. But I think that hunter mid is something very strong in the meta right now because of the ranged autos that ADCs provide. So normal mid laners, they have the mage autos, which don't do as much damage early game as hunters, and it's harder to fight for that mid pressure for the first wave when you don't have that kind of damage, and hunters just really excel at that, and you can get the footing in lane.
And with an assassin as well alongside you, more than likely in the jungle, that blue stone that they provide, more than likely they will begin with, does help to provide a little bit more pressure. Odin banned out by Eanix, and it's back over to Rival for what they're last ban will be.
I actually like the option that Rival with the Neath ban, like Vedium mentioned. It's the double hunter is, yes, it's annoying, but also I would imagine that Rival's only hunter is going to be this Ram, and so if they're relying solely on one hunter versus two, it's very easy for two hunters to find the upper hand as far as team fights are concerned.
Well, we won't be sure for a fact whether or not these hunter bans from Rival are going to be worthwhile, because even if Enix do draft another hunter now, it was given an instigation they were going to do that anyway, or if they draft a mage, you'll never know, but we'll find out as the game unfolds.
An advantage of going Chang'e is that it makes drafting that double hunter very easy, because let's say your rival, you have a physical jungle, physical ADC, you would just end up stacking too much physical damage. But Chang'e in the jungle, you can safely go that double physical and mid and hunter and get away with it because it balances out perfectly.
And it's kind of the same way we saw Ao Kwong a lot, was because he was a magical jungler is why he fit so well into some builds to have the double hunters.
Yeah, for sure. Ao Kwong serves a little bit of a different purpose than Chang'e.
Sure.
Chang'e really has that like big team fight ult with that can be like a 4-man stun, as we saw yesterday with Kiki's team, Oxygen Supremacy. But Ao Kwong is more of that late game carry and that big burst damage that sometimes you want.
Talking about carries, they did go for a type of hunter, even though it's magical here in that Sol for Enix. So Sol's had gone through a couple of transitions with no Fatalis effect now anymore on a Disapparate, but she's still going to be able to do those mage-like abilities from the mid lane.
I wouldn't really consider her a hunter anymore at this point in time in the magical hunter tree. Ever since her reworking with the changing of the way the Fatalis effect goes, I would say that she's more towards the line of a mage, if anything, and she does provide a pretty big burst damage as well as a lot of AoE control with her too. And you combine that on top of a Hu Yi or a Terra, there's a solid bit of AoE coming out on the side of Enix.
Well, Veti and Poseidon have locked in, Rival have locked in Poseidon right now. How are we feeling about the composition so far with the last two picks still to come?
I think that's great. I'm not sure how it does specifically against the gods that Enix have picked, but as a whole, comboing that with Thor and Fafnir, it does really well because you can easily Kraken off a Fafnir hammer or a Thor ult. It really synergizes very well.
And there it is. That's the spice.
Interesting.
That's Deathwalker's. That is Deathwalker's Ao Puch solo. So you know that Rival are not holding anything back. This is a pick he is notorious for completely dominating every time he picks it in the solo lane.
And then finally, Enix are locking in Nike as well, which still gives flexibility for Nike to be support or in the solo lane. If you know this Ao Puch is going solo, Vetium, what are you putting there? What are you putting up against the Ao Puch?
I mean, I'd say more than likely Nike's going solo, as I don't think she does as good of a job in support as Terra.
That's true.
I'm still really caught off guard by this.
I think we all are. We heard the Deathwalker may pull out some crazes. It could be Ao Puch mid and Poseidon solo though.
I've had too much experience with EU ranked.
You just know it too well.
Yeah, it's honestly, it works phenomenally. And the Circuit ban, I think, is specifically for avoiding any issues because I think they were.
We're gonna go quick because the game's ready. Who's your money on?
Enix.
What about
Enix.
you? Enix all the way from the desk. Will Ao Puch do anything well? F. standing by with a fantastic version of the name.
I'm so excited. It's been so long since I've been able to do this, so. Ao Puch. Crushed it.
Nailed it. You've good thing you put all that practice in. Every day I come in, he's practicing his Ao Puch voice, and luckily today is the day that he got to use it.
He's not lying. We're actually going to see some Ao Puch today. The long-range corpse exploding. This guy is a whole mess. Really excited to see it. Let's jump into the battlefield and see if it's good enough to take Rival above Enix. So Ao Puch. Crash course for the players at home that are unfamiliar with this god. He's a mage, so he's in the solo lane. That's already kind of weird. What he does, he shoots out these corpses that he uses a second ability to make explode. He can walk over them to heal up a little bit, and then of course his ultimate is kind of like Jonqui's.
I'm not sure that Ao Puch is the weirdest thing about this game, though. I think the fact that Cabrakan went unpicked and unbanned with Cherryo.
I mean, Cherryo was Cabrakan in real life. Like, he was one of the first players to play Cabrakan. It's almost like you said that before.
It's almost like it. Either way, it's going to be Chang'e. I guess with Chang'e picked early on, Cherryo was locked into this pick. I'm just surprised Xaliea didn't want it in that solo lane. Would have been great up against Ao Puch.
Yeah.
You can really lock him down. Either way, I love this soul pick here for Lawbster, a god that we haven't seen a lot of recently in Season 4, but it's got a phenomenal matchup up against Poseidon. Slow immune in that Disapparate, as well as the immunity frames that come afterwards. Really works well. well with getting out of that Kraken combo.
I think the Soul is fantastic. Is good enough as a mage. I think her time in the long lane is kind of over. No longer is she a hunter. She is just she's a mage that's particularly adept at crushing towers.
I agree with you. It's definitely, with the changes to her ultimate doing more damage now with the consecutive hits,
Exactly.
you can use that as a more damage option instead of just a CC to get more basic attacks in sort of option.
So Deathwalker over here in the solo lane, 1-on-2. He's not going to be able to get his own blue buff. You see Xaliea was able to snatch that one away. That's the go-to when you put a mage in the solo lane. You're just going to abuse him specifically with the buff in mind.
And no teleport available for Deathwalker either, so all this mana that he's using is going to have to be recouped using those mana potions that he's already burned through multiple so far early on here. And then he's just going to have to walk back to lane.
Why did he go the Aegis? I mean, instead of the teleport.
Because he knows he's going to get camped a lot, and he's going to take a lot of damage. And if you can immune the big burst damage coming out of Enix's roster, Deathwalker has that sustain built into Opwash's kit. You can pick up those corpses from your 1 and your 3, and then use that to sustain up a little bit.
That's the game plan at least. I'm very eager to see how this character really works out. He's a god that might be considered, man, one of the few gods that I think players consider unplayable.
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean, that's the overall talk from these pro players is Opwash is just unpickable in every situation, but he does a lot of things well, and that's long-range damage, AoE control that Empty the Crypts just covers in a massive area, especially if Deathwalker can pick up a Gem of Isolation that guarantees his combo damage as well as makes that ultimate even more potent. And he shuts down healers, not in the sense that Odin does necessarily and just straight up anti-heal, but he de-incentivizes you from healing your teammates. That fleeting breath, the third ability, is going to make sure that you get stunned and take more damage if you heal while it's on you.
You take a whole ton of damage, too. It actually winds up really swinging once you're able to land that on the target. And right away, I mean, you mentioned it, Opwash knows he's going to get dove, knows he's going to get camped, already has to use the Aegis on cooldown for 140.
So it's very clear that this was intentional by Rival to give up Chang'e and pick this Opwash in response. And it's because of that anti-heal option, as well as the fact that Chang'e isn't a jungler that can really camp a lane as effectively as most traditional assassins. Chang'e is a team-fighting jungler. It's all about grouping up with your team and fighting as a unit. And that doesn't really happen when you're ganking a lane. So Deathwalker knows that he's not under as near much pressure as, say, against Susano or maybe even a Cabrakan.
On the other side, yeah, exactly. We saw that with the amusing Cobb selection at a Snoopy yesterday in North America. With the Chang'e in the jungle, you're allowed to go less safe picks across the map because that threat of, surprise, I'm a Circuit, it's just not there. Chang'e comes in nice and slow. On the other side, iceicebaby also has to sort of alter his play. Knowing that Deathwalker's in the solo lane, iceicebaby might opt to go a little bit more tanky. Deathwalker, rather Opwash, one of the characters, one of the mages that can still go super tanky and actually be effective. So really, that's what I'm looking at. How does Deathwalker build? Kraken comes out kind of preemptively.
But BigManTingz is going to be able to escape there. No meditation there for Tingz. He's got the hog instead. Deathwalker again getting dove down by Xaliea.
Why?
No ultimate from Xaliea. Deathwalker either used his or hasn't leveled it up at all yet.
So here, Deathwalker at level 5, he's pulling a play out of Divios' book. I can almost guarantee it. I don't think that he's leveled the ultimate just yet. Being relegated over there in the solo lane, the ultimate of Deathwalker is a team fight ultimate. Even if he gets dove on the tower and he unleashes the crypts, he's not going to find that much damage out of the ult. And right there you can see proof in the pudding. He's leveling his 2 abilities. Unfortunately for Opwash, he generally has to clear with those 2. The first ability is the way he throws out the corpses, and at rank 3, that's when you start getting two bodies instead. Rank 4?
I believe it's rank 4, though. Let's be real. Who's played Opwash recently? I mean, it's been quite some time. Either way, it's just about getting as many points into that Undead Surge as possible early on, so you can get that extra damage option and the extra sustain from both of those corpses being on the ground.
And that's the key. That's why we see him avoid the ultimate so far, because not only does he have to throw the corpses out, but he has to explode them with the secondary ability, so needing to get both of those online or quick and early is the Opwash.
He's got, I mean, it's working out thus far to be 5 minutes in and haven't died yet, and that's pretty solid. Both Oracles go the way
You know,
of
you
Team
say
Rival.
that sarcastically, but for an op-wash.
No, that was not sarcastically. I meant that sincerely. If we've made it 5.5 minutes in, and he hasn't lost a ton of farm, he hasn't died in lane yet. Xaliea hasn't started to snowball this entire right side, and that's the thing that we really have to watch out for, though, is how far behind does iceicebaby fall because of the lack of pressure out of Deathwalker in that solo lane.
Exactly. So that's one of the big deals that I'm looking at is the jungle and that solo lane synergy, really making sure that iceicebaby can really adapt. But this time he's on the other side of the map, lands right where Funball used to be. Homie jumps over the ultimate. Fantastic play out of the UK Hunter.
iceicebaby's played a lot of this Thor recently, but we just see more and more about why we're seeing less Thor. That little targeter that lets you know Thor's about to land is enough of a warning to allow these players, especially on land, to jump up and out of that ability.
And also the sound cue. When you look at Funball, he played a long time with Trix Tank, who's notorious for playing with the sound so loud that the player next to him can hear the audio. So with that in mind, Funball, I don't know if it's that loud, but he certainly knows the power and the importance of the sound cue. So keeping that in mind, Funball stays alive for the moment, has about half a level above his direct opposition, Vote, the Rama player.
Hand of the Gods again. I wanted to get back to that for BigManTingz. No meditation. I don't know the last time we saw 5 players without meditation at the beginning, and it was probably an energy game. Energy really the ones who have really utilized this Hand of the Gods strategy on their support early on. Enix taking a page out of the World Champions book and just making sure that BigManTingz could be around to secure his team's jungle. It's not nearly as good in terms of securing jungle objectives as it used to be, but now it's about controlling your buffs.
Right now, control on the right side seems to have gone to Eanix, able to pick up the little fire gremlins, as you dubbed them earlier in the year. And because of that, maintaining a little 500 gold lead. Not really anything impactful as far as the team fights are concerned, but just shows you that Enix have been a little bit more fastidious.
Wlfy has to use the Aegis in the mid lane after that supernova coming out of Lawbster. He's knocked up by the Kraken, but does get into that disapparate form. BigManTingz here in the mid lane.
Cherryo!
Sets up Cherryo for the kill.
And there's iceicebaby looking for the follow-up. Nice little jump forward out of the support. Chang'e's in trouble, but the rotation out of Funball. That's a big play. Down come the Suns, and down goes Collis. 2 kills for Enix.
And that's just the team play from Enix coming up big once more. This is a team that has the 3 members, the Lawbster, the Funball, and Xaliea all together for a long time. Oh, Cherryo falling low, but the snipes not going to be enough despite the accuracy out of Vote.
And the Gold Fury, 10%. Can he steal it with a basic? Don't think so. Enix picks up the objective after the team fight. That's the stuff after the stuff. 2K lead.
And that's going back to what I was saying about how the 3v3 core of Funball, Lawbster, and Xaliea have been together for so long, but BigManTingz and Cherryo are new additions this year, but they look like they've been playing together forever. There has been no drop-off. In fact, this team has gotten better since losing Cuvo, Fred, and Trix. And that's not a shot at them because they've also gotten better with their team on Dignitas.
I mean, Dignitas certainly doing well, but this is a team, Enix right here, that I was enthralled about. These 3, like you said, the outside players in the mid lane playing together. Cherryo and BigManTingz are the 2 players you want to plug and play. We've seen BigManTingz on the Challenger circuit, if you pay attention to that, and then we saw BigManTingz show up and play for Dignitas last year next to Ducky and Suntouch, and just what he was able to do there was he was newer, but you can tell the way his gameplay worked, that it's plug and play. He's going to work with virtually any team. And Cherryo, very much the same. What he does in the jungle is translatable to virtually anywhere he winds up. You plug those players right in here and seamless transition. Cherryo has looked fantastic. And a lot of players talk about him playing on high ping, coming all the way from Egypt. He's here at LAN, baby. He's not going to miss much.
He's a Lanimal. He's like the original Lanimal of Smite, I would say. Just early on, Season 2, Cherryo came in and just crushed everyone on London Conspiracy with his signature Naja. Hopefully we get a chance to see it, because watching him play that at LAN is a pleasure.
A little bit of a dash there from BigManTingz. In a scary spot, but quickly able to get out of there, no problemo. Fire Giant spawning just about now. Vote gets stunned out of the left side, but the party's in the mid lane. Hunters are jumping away as their abilities are used up. And the stun comes out onto Cherryo. He's able to dance away.
Funball drops the ultimate there to clear the wave and get some extra damage onto Vote, but Vote hangs on to both his purification beads and his ultimate, so Funball not going to be able to make the same impact on a rotation as he did last time around. Those stuns made a huge difference in locking down Collis, allowing for that follow-up to CC to be nearly guaranteed off the slow.
Puch here on the right side, still not able to get his blue buff. Funball chased away by Vote on the left side. 2 shots are good. 3rd shot is good. That's the first kill for Team Rival, thanks to Vote and BK.
And that's with the additional movement speed from Terra's Blessing. Vote is absolutely on fire right now.
Xalia's gonna jump away, and Kala still on the trail. BigManTingz gonna wrap around after his support stuns him out. Cherryo shows up behind Vote. Big hit out of the 1 and the 3rd ability. Gonna deal some damage as well. Ultimate, can Chang'e make the gank? The straight jungle gank, dancing around the basics. Vote gets taken out. Cherryo, the Slayer, takes him down.
I don't know if it would have made a difference in the end, but Vote used up all his remaining mana using those astral arrows, guaranteeing the fact that he wouldn't be able to jump away. Xaliea can't jump away either. iceicebaby gets the kill, but that was all Deathwalker's damage.
That was big damage out of the Puch. You can see him sitting 4th place, on the net worth, and a little bit down lower on the player damage. So a big deal coming out for the solo lane Puch, and his damage will help secure an early portal demon as well. That's gonna catch Team Rival up just a little bit. Enix had about 3,000 gold above them, but now Team Rival only trailing by about 2K.
Wlfy does use the Kraken, though, to secure that objective, so not a lot of fight potential for Rival in the next few moments. I'm really curious to see exactly where Deathwalker is going to go with this build. It's all about, does he want to go for Shield of Regrowth? You can grab Shield of Regrowth on the Puch, throw around the corpses in front of you, give yourself some extra CDR, health, and of course the movement speed whenever you heal yourself. Does he want to go for the Gem of Isolation to stack some more HP? There's a lot of options that he has, but this early Warlock Sash, the fact that it's already stacked up to the point of 27 stacks at the 12.5-minute mark, that's a very, very high pace, and that's what you can get away with in the solo lane. And it's not in the mid where your farm is limited and you're splitting your waves, so you may not get your last hits. Deathwalker's all by himself over here, so we can guarantee that he's getting all these stacks.
And so the Warlock Sash doesn't quite reveal the hand. It doesn't tell us if the Puch is going offensive or defensive just yet. Warlock Sash provides a lot of damage while still being offensive and defensive at the same time. The trade-off is, of course, the time investment. But as we see that second item, that third item, being built, likely to become a Spear of the Magus, maybe, that's going to be more offensive. Beads used by iceicebaby to avoid the ultimate out of the soul player, so Lawbster going to take an L for that one. But Cherryo dances into Collis, but it's Collis the one that's a little bit more afraid, trying to find safety underneath the tower.
Lawbster hasn't been able to find significant damage with that Stellar Burst Supernova combo quite yet, sitting bottom of the player damage charts, but that's what you expect from Soul early on. I love the build that he's going for, though. This Bancroft's Talon, really looking to get that power up early on, and you can really play pretty far back when you're low health as a player like Soul and use that Bancroft's passive to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, Bancroft is first, it's cheap as hell. So you have your power right there quickly. And like you said, you're going to leverage that passive as well. Big bonus as well. The healing has been buffed on it, and Soul does like to shoot those basics, which means she's going to get 100% of the life steal off of that as far as the basics are concerned.
And don't forget, in terms of sustain that Soul has, that Radiance, the first ability, no longer scales off your missing health based on how many points you have in it. It's just a flat number all game throughout, so it's going to be able to make sure that Lawbster is just healthy enough to continue to fight every time. I think a lot of people overlook just how much sustain Soul has in the mid lane right now.
Yeah, so that's going to be Lawbster's not dealing out too much damage, but he's not taking much either. And should he actually do, he'll be able to heal it up pretty much no problem. BigManTingz and Collis here, your support players, still hanging out on the left side of the map. Really just trying to protect their hunters. We saw Vote and Vote, being taken care of by Cherryo. And Funball, well, he got taken care of by Vote.
Xaliea has to be a little careful now, though, in this lane up against Deathwalker. He's completed that Spear of the Magus, and that synergizes beautifully with that kit, and there is 0 health in Xalea's build right now. It is all protection, and it's not even heavy protection dedicated to the magical. The Spirit's Robe, not your biggest protection item. It's more about that passive, but Puch doesn't have any hard CC to proc that passive. Now it looks like another cloak is the call here for Xaliea. He's got to be worried. Deathwalker is going to start to do significant damage to his opponent.
Yeah, this is when it's going to get scary and people are going to ask where the Puch has been. As long as he's able to get that damage off, that's the big key. Deathwalker needs iceicebaby and Collis to really protect him in that solo lane. Deathwalker right now doesn't seem to need any protecting, putting him up into Xalia's tower. picking up some of the corpses, and that's going to be one of the big gimmicks out of the op watch.
Yeah, this is the dream scenario. Cherryo has been here once, twice. He really hasn't showed his face a lot in this solo lane. Deathwalker's been allowed to free farm all game long. He's now 3/4 of the way done with that Warlock Sash. Level 15, he's highest level in the game, tied with Funball and Vote. This is a really, really great spot for the solo mage.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting up top of the charts of net worth. He's got the most money in the game. That's not... When you see characters like Puch, when you see characters like, I mean, Hopwa or Freya, those are the characters you want to camp so that they don't get to this point. But like you said, Cherryo just not hanging out there. Why do you think that the jungler has been paying more attention mid and left?
It's just about farming because he also feels like he needs to get to late game. And like we mentioned, Chang'e just isn't a good pressure pick. Look at that damage.
Wow.
Coming out of Deathwalker. Xaliea forced to use his ultimate. Deathwalker never even used his.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Puch. Big, long-range burst. You see how he maxed out that first and second ability before everything else? The corpse and the corpse explosion. One, he's going to just one-shot the wave. And two, it's going to deal massive damage to Xaliea as well. Xaliea gets his ultimate forced out. He's forced to go back to base, and he doesn't have the teleport, which means he's got to walk there, all while the rest of his team handles the Gold Fury.
It's getting pretty low here, below 25%. Wlfy not in position to try and steal this away, and Enix do secure the Gold Fury. But there's a stun on to BigManTingz. Terra's blessing popped to get them away, and it'll do just that.
Nice play coming out from Enix. Just knows exactly where the window of opportunity is. 1,900 gold in the lead is the red team. Deathwalker looking to take care of this right side tower. Although Xaliea and Lawbster running towards him, he might be in some trouble there, aggro.
Could be, but Lawbster is only level 15 compared to the 16 for Deathwalker, and just so much raw HP in that build right now with that Warlock Sash almost completed. I like this idea from Rival to consider staying in mid lane and just push up, make sure that Deathwalker stays safe by holding multiple members of Enix in that mid lane.
Yeah, it's certainly something to think about. 17.5 on the clock, 3-2. That's Enix on the good side of the kills, up 2,000 gold, and they're looking to push that even further. Here in the mid lane, making their mark. There's an ultimate out of the Chang'e, stunning 2, but less about the capitalization looking for the kills, and more about the objective. Tier 1 tower here in the mid lane, just barely alive in the last hit, will bring it down. 500 gold on the side of Enix.
And this is what Enix wants to do, group and push, because their tower push is just through the roof between Yi and Soul. Lawbster hasn't even completed that Obsidian Shard. That's when that tower push is going to start to get really crazy.
Yeah, there it is, there it goes, and he's going to start building into even more power, but like you said, this is the goal of the squad. They're going to get some great stun and ignore it, and then look towards the tower, just looking for the structure damage here. That's the experience of Enix, understanding that you draft a composition for a specific goal. They have a goal and they have a win condition in mind that's a little bit different than some of the standard stuff, and that's okay. They've made a name for themselves, specifically Xaliea, off of being creative.
And Cherryo, you know, he hasn't been around these guys forever. Like we mentioned, he's new to this team during this split. And that's the one thing that he always brings up, is that this team thinks about the game differently than any other team he's previously been on. And this, like you mentioned, these sort of strategies is exactly why. Not worried about the team fighting. They're taking almost a page out of Eager's book. It is just about objectives outside of the players.
Listen, man, the only death that matters in Smite is the death of the Titan.
That's deep.
Think about it.
That's deep, man.
Just think about it.
Poetic.
It can be a 0-0 game, and you can still wind up on top. You know the only way to win without killing the Titan?
Making the other team surrender.
Hey, there you go. But guess what? False! The Titan has a death animation when you surrender.
That's true. I suppose you're right. Though you don't directly kill the Titan.
It dies, and either way, that's what you're looking for. Right side, Enix looking for the tier 1 tower. Tier 2 tower push out of Vote, likely to be stopped just by Cherryo Pie, his lonesome. Everybody else here just, again, watching as it goes down.
But again, it's all about this tower siege. There's the Crypts from Deathwalker, but doing a lot of damage, but no follow-up off of it.
And see, right there, I would have liked to see that ultimate be used on the tower, because at that point, that's just a diversion.
There's a dunk down from iceicebaby. Xaliea was waiting for him with that Sentinel of Zeus, and that shield provides no damage for the Kraken. iceicebaby in trouble, just able to dash out of danger.
Pushing forward is Enix, a little bit of heal up for Deathwalker himself. Lawbster and friends, again, going to avoid the fight. Cherryo, on the other hand, certainly not going to do any such thing. Taking some damage from the tower. Just trying to goad Vote into sticking around for one more wave.
Vote has his ult, and you can tell he really wants this wave that's about to come in. Cherryo is backing up a little bit, though. Low on mana, has his ultimate on cooldown, so Vote is going to be able to farm up one more wave before heading back to base.
Not too big a deal for the Hunter this time around, I don't think. He'll be able to clean that one up. Interesting. Yi, third item, Fatalis. Talk to me about it, Aggro.
I mean, it's just all about that attack speed. Yi, one of the lowest in terms of base attack speed. In fact, in the next patch, well, right now, the current patch, just we're playing on an older one, so that players had enough time to practice. Yi's attack speed, base attack speed was actually raised because it's so low. So just getting extra attack speed, you know you're going to be hitting pretty hard anyways with that Mark of the Golden Crow, with your abilities as well. It's just about getting enough auto attacks off to make that executioner procs worth it.
And just chase them down. That's, of course, one of the big bonuses of the Fatalis. You're not going to escape the Yi anytime soon. The sun's going to come down and slow you just a little bit. So, you know, before, kind of made a half joke about the fact that it could be a 0-0 game and you can still win it. Well, Enix and Rival
They're trying.
They're trying. It's a 5-kill game in total here as we approach minute number 22. Very low kill count.
Well, that's standard. I mean, you've got some old guard here in Europe. This is the old guard way of playing the game in Europe, is just grind it out. Wait until the 35-minute mark, because that's when the real fighting starts.
Well, we saw Enix actually shy away from the fight just in lieu of looking for the towers themselves. So that's certainly a thought process for Enix.
Deathwalker's gone for Mantle of Discord here right after that Spear of the Magus, because he doesn't need any more HP right now, courtesy of those 100 Warlock Sash stacks. Instead, just needs a ton of protection. That's exactly what Mantle of Discord gives him. Now, that is 3,100 gold for that amount, so that's a lot. Wlfy eating that Waxing Moon, but it's only him who gets hit by it.
And the wall from iceicebaby separates Cherryo from the team for a moment, but it's able to dance through the damage, no problem. Hey, the Gold Fury. It's at half HP, that's what I was going for, but it wasn't there yet. Very low, actually. Can Team Rival snatch it away? Absolutely not. There's Gold Fury number 3 for Enix.
Kala's trying to get away, Ice into the back line, but then teleports right into the
job.
damage. The Deathwalker ultimate, though, is tearing through Enix.
And that's going to bring BigManTingz down very low. Funball down to about half HP, but just not enough damage after the fact. A nice meditation brings Team Rival back up to a healthy position, but not really where they want to be.
Not quite. Look at all those sustain after that meditation. Kala's up over the wall looking for Cherryo. There's his purification beads. Supernova coming down from Lawbster, but just doesn't do enough damage.
So Team Rival now on the offensive, looking to take care of Enix's tier 1 tower. Let's listen to Team Rival.
Jump down. I'm pro.
I need back. I don't have enough mana.
Portal's gonna spawn soon though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like, I can't do anything about it. I have like 0 mana.
Let's go fish med to me off the back.
They're gonna like bigger. I'm looking for more ban, man. Fuck that shit.
I'm stunning. I stun.
Can you get out? I'm on my.
They're getting the tower, dude.
Yeah,
Weak.
That's stop.
Man.
They have a sentry here.
Gonna go
They're going to right.
We need to commit in a fight.
Yeah, we need to commit.
They have like
So Team Rival right there looked like they were getting ready to be aggressive. That's why I listened in. But unfortunately for them and their fans, Enix turns the tables. And Team Rival just sort of watch. I mean, you heard it. They're just taking the tower, dude.
And then you heard it. I don't know what you want us to do about it. You know, there's nothing we can do about it. And again, it's just about Enix. They're forcing out the enemy Team Rival. They're not worried about kills. It's just about creating space for the towers. Soul and Yi, too much damage for the tower to handle.
Eesh.
But Vote cleans up Lawbster in the mid
But
lane.
Cherryo from the back end gets 2 stunned out. Enix can't follow up. iceicebaby takes to the sky, trying to pick the target. Lands on Cherryo. There's the Crips coming out from the solo lane at Puch. Vote capitalizes off of it. Takes to the sky. Couple of shots, but I think that be that. Team Rival able to bite back. Still trailing by about 4,000 gold. Looking to shorten that up to 3.
Kala's taking up the tower. Meditation comes up off cooldown and heals everyone on Team Rival healthy enough to make sure they can answer back with a tier 2 mid tower of their own. Lawbster and BigManTingz are still dead for quite some time, and it looks like Rival want to get this Phoenix.
Yeah, that shell popped preemptively, just going right in there. Everybody knows. And Enix trying to keep them off the Phoenix. No damage dealt yet to the structure. Deathwalker down pretty low. Nice jump in coming out from Xaliea. But Cherryo not ready to finish him off, along with Funballer. Has to play it safe.
Look at the self-sustain from Deathwalker. He can just spam those corpses. Remember, every time you pick up a corpse, your Surge of the Dead and your first ability, it's going to go on a lower cooldown, and you can just spam it. Look at him. He's full health. He's completely full health.
That's how it works, man.
Crazy stuff.
Share it. And see, I love the way that the corpses work right there. Creates a virtual minefield where if you walk over it, Deathwalker will just explode the corpses. You're going to take a ton of damage. Deathwalker, however, he's the one taking a ton of damage. The ultimate comes up just in time, and it forces Enix off for the moment. But that's it. The crypts are gone. In comes Xaliea looking for the jump. Deathwalker down to about 60% HP. Enix pushing forward, right and left side. Cherryo on the left, everybody else on the right. iceicebaby takes to the sky, and he's going to waste the ultimate.
Going to go decide to farm up that mid lane. A lot of ward coverage here for Enix on this bottom right-hand side. Cherryo is the one zoning on the Chang'e. A lot of low members in terms of mana and HP here for Team Rival.
All right, Enix starting up the Fire Giant. Let's listen to it with Enix as they decide to fight.
Oh, push?
Yeah, push. Jump!
I have ult in 5 seconds.
Chase! Push! Big word!
I have ult in 1 second. Push.
Kill boss! Nice fucking jump!
I'm gonna jump.
Fucking kill him!
Let's go. Back up.
I'm really low.
Grip up heal! Behind us! He's gonna go in.
Careful.
Yeah.
Go in him. You're fine.
Nice!
Back energy.
We can do it. Lobster heal up.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Thor. I'm in now.
Stop. Cherry.
Listen, we talk about momentum-based teams. Funball is the definition of a momentum-based team. I mean, this is what this guy does. It's fantastic to watch. It's fantastic to cast. The Fire Giant goes down. Enix picks it up, and they're pushing it on. Cherryo with the kill.
Kalost and Vote actually, Kalost just responding. Vote can't quite seal away that Fire Giant from Enix. Can't quite remember those heroic plays that we've seen time in and time out all weekend long. The objective control has really been up in the air all across the regions. This time, though, Enix secure themselves the Fire Giant.
So much fun to watch, Aggro. Honestly, like, this is just a treat. We get to see a little bit of Opwash, who kind of does what he's supposed to be doing. He's 24,000 damage. He's 24,000 damage in total. The number 2 is going to be 18k in the jungle Chang'e. So he's doing what he's supposed to do, but unfortunately for his team, the other pieces aren't really falling into place, and Enix is able to take advantage.
I mean, this is, the focus has been heavily onto Deathwalker, and he still hasn't died. And in a lot of instances, Enix is using a lot of cooldowns, a few too many, to try and kill him. And Rival just has not been able to make them pay. iceicebaby on this Thor, bottom of the player damage charts for his team, just hasn't been effective this game.
I mean, you heard how excited Enix was. Opwash, go for the Opwash. And he just walks away.
Kalost is third on his team in player damage right now.
Eesh.
Both Wlfy and iceicebaby are below him, and that is really the only issue that Rival's having right now. It is not the Opwash. He's had a phenomenal game.
He's done it. He did what he's supposed to.
Yeah, doing a ton of damage and absorbing a lot of cooldowns and staying alive. Deathwalker's had a phenomenal game.
That's his whole job. That's what he's supposed to do. But everything else, as I said, just not falling into place. Funballer and Lawbster just destroying these structures. Wow, ton of damage coming out specifically onto the towers. We're about a half hour in here, folks. 7 out of the 11 kills belong to Enix. They've picked up a Fire Giant. They picked up 4 Gold Furies. And for their troubles, they find themselves up about 8,000 gold.
Lawbster had to use Zagus there just from the 1-2 combination out of Deathwalker without even the 3, and that's without Rod of Tahuti either. And Deathwalker still did Lawbster, half of his HP. I mean, this is going to be a problem later and later as it goes on. Deathwalker is close to completing that Rod of Tahuti, most likely.
So when it comes down to defense, that's where the Opwash is going to crush it. Everybody's going to walk towards that Phoenix and they say, hey, this is my time to shine. We're up 10K. And Deathwalker's going to unleash the Crypts. He's going to throw out the minions, and he's just going to make it explode. And Enix is going to have to sit back and lick their wounds, which is where Cherryo comes into play. If Cherryo cannot heal everybody up after Deathwalker does the business, that's where Team Rival is going to be able to turn the tables. It's a big if, and there's a lot of moving parts, which is what makes this difficult, but that's why it's Pro Smite.
And the Fire Giant buff going to help with that heal up sort of mentality. BigManTingz as well, and the Terra has enough sustain to be relevant in situations where you're disengaging and then re-healing to engage.
Enix, right side, looking for the push onto the tier 2 tower. Crypts coming out, not Crypts, but the corpse is coming out just now. iceicebaby to the sky. Perhaps a little bit too soon. Group up is good, lands on one, and Funball jumps away. No harm, no foul. Crypts come out, Enix got what they want. They bait out 2 ultimates, and that's a win.
But they do lose Waxing Moon and Sentinel of Zeus. Xaliea really needs that shield in order to frontline effectively right now.
Funball jumping backwards is a good stun out of the Thor, but it's better with the jump and the knock-up. Xaliea gets one, Funball gets the other. Great play coming out of Enix so far. Tier 2 tower in trouble.
It took until 31 minutes, but Opwash is finally gonna die. Xaliea does it. Vote finds Lawbster with the snipes, but it's only Vote and Wlfy left alive to try and defend their Titan.
Well, the Phoenix, tier 3 tower. The Phoenix is going to go down here nice and easy on the right side. We'll see Enix shift over to the mid lane as well. Likely take all 3.
Vote saves the game there by sniping down Lawbster. If he survives, just with the sustain between Cherryo and BigManTingz, Eanix is able to end the game without much worry.
I mean, yeah, with a soul alive, these 3 Phoenixes are already dead at this point.
Yes.
And they could just walk right into the throne room. Because of the fallen soul, they can't even get the 3rd Phoenix.
It's going to be a backup there, but it is the 2 Phoenixes that are closer to the Fire Giant, so Rival will have a bit of an easier time defending that objective when it respawns in the next 25 seconds. They don't have to worry about that far lane being filled with fire minions. It's only the 2 closer ones.
So right now, Enix, they're backing off just a little bit, but they are well and clearly in the driver's seat of this one. Up by a zillion gold. Above that 10K mark is really when it starts to hurt, and Team Rival are looking up. I did note that there are a couple of nice little conditions that Team Rival can spin things around, and with Deathwalker's success, it can certainly be a large part of what allows Team Rival back in. Give me a specific gameplay that you want to see Rival do to bite back.
Wait until Cherryo overextends and try and punish him. The problem with that is that he's got a ton of CDR and a ton of movement speed and shield of regrowth and beads and Aegis and an ability that is also beads and Aegis at the same time. So good luck with that strategy. Xaliea doesn't have a ton of HP in that build. It's really only coming from the Wingblade and the Bulwark of Hope, so maybe you can try and focus him down. The lack of meditation could come back to haunt Enix in a situation like that. But the positioning from Lawbster and Funball has been so good. BigManTingz is always up in that front line.
Oh, yeah.
And then Xaliea is right there with him, with Cherryo dancing in between the 2 lines. It's very, very difficult to defend against this much structure damage, because if you sit too far back, then Funball and Lawbster just shred your objective.
For me, it's more about it's less about what aggressive play they can make and more about what defensive play they can make. I need to see Team Rival stop grouping up together, because they're getting jumped on by Nike almost every time, and it's ruining them. 2-3 people get knocked up, and that's the end of the team fight. Spread out is what Rival needs to do.
Kraken doesn't hit anybody as Cherryo's able to dance right out of danger. iceicebaby finally forces at least the purification beads, but that's 3 ultimates and they got 1 relic.
Yeah, BigManTingz drops his ult. I mean, that's not a win for Rival in any way, shape, or form. Fire Giant now started, but will be leashed. Kallis jumps forward. Here comes damage out of the soul. So there's the Titan under attack, but Funball takes out Kallis. It's a 5-on-4. Wlfy's low in the backside. 2 kills for Funball. Vote takes to the sky while Cherryo takes down the mid laner. 3 people are dead aggro. The Titan is dead. That's an F6.
There it is. Enix takes game number 1. It wasn't a quick one, and it was close throughout, but the Opwash solo does not come out and surprise the veteran players.
Yeah, that one was fun to watch. Like, not even kidding. We saw the Opwash do Opwash. But the team didn't fall into place.
No, a little bit unfortunate. I mean, the strategy there was sound. You could tell exactly why Rival was picking up that Opwash, and it worked. I mean, Chang'e was not able to pressure him in lane, and he got a ton of free farm, and he did a ton of damage, and he survived forever. The problem was just Wlfy was way too low in terms of damage, and then iceicebaby was as well, though I believe at least one of them hopped over Collis by the end of that game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day here, coming into game number 2, I don't mind if they pick the Upwash again. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to. All right, you might mind.
Yeah,
I want to see it.
I don't know.
I want to see it. Pick somebody better in mid lane. There are so many other options. Let's toss it over to the desk and see what they have to say. I'll fight aggro myself.
Well, we'll find out if Alposh does get picked again for game 2, but game 1 was, for all intents and purposes, the Enix show. It was pretty even for a little while, Taco, but after a bit, it went to Enix.
Completely, Enix just started to steamroll over Rival, and there was just no response whatsoever. Just like F. mentioned, Wlfy just fell too far behind, and iceicebaby unable to really coordinate any sort of comeback potential with his mid laner.
That's it. Any standout plays in that game, or player for you personally?
Well, Funballer was certainly in comms a standout player. I'd say at the start of the game, I expected the Poseidon to do more. I don't know. It just didn't really happen. Like he tried to get a good Kraken for first blood, I think. It didn't come off very well, and I think that was like their chance to get some footing and like get some momentum. It just didn't work.
Didn't work out well for them at all. Let's have a look at the post-game stats of game 1 here and have a little closer look at how this one broke down. For the most part, though, I will say the top 2 damage dealers in that game was the Alposh by Deathwalker, followed closely by Cherryo, who silently danced through the jungle, picking himself a lot of kills, and I don't believe he died in that game either.
And that's exactly what you want from a Chang'e. It's just the situational awareness that Cherryo was able to maintain while also being a threatening force for Rival to try and deal with. Just that sustain combined with damage, that's exactly what you need from a jungler.
But if it's a surprising amount of sustain coming out there, or is it? I mean, you guys over in North America play a lot more Chang'e these days. You see a lot of bans focused around that. 21,000 healing from that and Terra. It's a massive amount to deal with.
Yeah, Chang'e is extremely hard to kill, and combining that with a Terra ult, it's near impossible.
Yeah, and you mentioned as well Funballer in that game, at least his communications during that. We got a couple of listenings there. He was leading from the forefront during the communications, and not necessarily with the correct calls, but just trying to get into the opposition's head.
It's just the momentum swing, really. Funballer has always been one of those players who likes getting into your head, and when you have this man constantly shouting at you while he's also destroying you, that's just so incredibly annoying. It wears you down.
We call it pop-offs overall, that team, and we've seen this before. You've been around long enough to see some of these go down. Are they really impactful when you hear the opposition screaming at you sometimes?
It really depends on the players. I'd say, personally, my team doesn't really get affected by that. And I don't know how it affects the other team here, but Funball, he's definitely loud. They can hear him for sure.
Oh yeah, we can hear him all the way in the casting booth over this side of the room, and that's quite a long distance between the two. But it's back to the drawing board for Rival again. They still have an opportunity here. It is a best of 3 after all, but they have to find a win here first of all before they can tie things up. Is there anything you'd like to see differently? The casters, Taco, we're talking about the mid lane changes.
As far as Rival is concerned, I think a mid lane change would be warranted, because you have to consider if Wlfy's going to fall that far behind on Poseidon, which is a pick that's a little bit more well-rounded at those early stages of the game,
sure,
you need something that is like guaranteed pressure.
Wait a second, like you're talking about having Poseidon not in the mid lane and instead just keep Alposh. Is that what you're telling me? That's what the issue was?
I have no issues with the Alposh. I very much agree with F. in that
Hang on,
sense.
that team's got a face, and what's that face about?
I have the issues with the Upwash.
What's the issue?
Really, you know,
top damage, died once.
Well, yes, but he doesn't provide the front line that you'll get out of any other solo laner. Sure, he'll win lane. He can stay alive. He can do well in his matchup, as he did. I think he almost soloed the Nike. It just, I don't know. He really doesn't. In my opinion, it's really not the best pick.
It's out there, Taco.
It's a pick that depends very heavily on how much setup your support and jungler can provide, and that's why I think we saw iceicebaby opting for the Thor, because Thor is actually one of those bruiser kind of characters where he can opt to build a little bit more defensively. And sure, Alposh might not have the front line that you'd typically want, but against a team like Enix's draft in that last game, I think that it was a very smart pick. The Alposh solo, it's something that Deathwalker has had plenty of success on. And while it hasn't come out on LAN environment, so to say, or even during a regular split, I know for a fact that that is a very strong God choice for him.
Well, let's see what